Well, league action will be live on our channels on Thursday, starting at 11:45 in Jamaica, 12:45 in the rest of the Caribbean, with Premier League leaders Arsenal playing away to FC Zurich. That match will be on SportsMax 2, as will the 2 p.m. game between Manchester United and Real Sociedad at Old Trafford. At 3 p.m. in the Eastern Caribbean, Lazio will face Feyenoord on SportsMax. As usual, all matches will be available on the SportsMax app. Download it from the Google Play Store or the App Store.
This is it. We set the bar very, very high, also for myself, what I demand of myself, where to bring this team up to the top, and I go for nothing less. Will I make it? I don't know, but this is the target.
It was a tenure that began with optimism, climaxed with historic success, but ended in a brutal severance. Earlier today, Chelsea Football Club announced the sacking of German head coach Thomas Tuchel after a stuttering start to this new season. Chelsea's weak showing comes on the back of the club's record spend of £271 million in the recent summer transfer window. The club issued this statement. On behalf of everyone at Chelsea FC, the club would like to place on record its gratitude to Thomas and his staff for all their efforts during their time with the club. Thomas will rightly have a place in Chelsea's history after winning the Champions League, the Super Cup and Club World Cup in his time here. As the new ownership group reaches 100 days since taking over the club, and as it continues its hard work to take the club forward, the new owners believe it is the right time to make this transition. Now, Chelsea have only registered 3 wins in 8 matches since that 1-0 away win to Everton on the opening day of the season. This is Tuchel's overall record since taking charge of Chelsea in January 2021. First 50, he had 32 wins, 11 draws, 7 defeats, scored 81 goals and let in 24. The last 50, 28 wins, 13 draws, 9 defeats, 87 goals scored. And the most, if you want to call it damning stat, the goal concession column or row, 53 goals let in their last 50 games when they let in only 24 in the first 50. Now, sources close to the club have indicated that Tuchel's dismissal is not only down to poor performances on the field. One of the leading sports journalists in the UK, Matt Law, he writes for The Telegraph, he posted in his column, while the loss in Zagreb may have underlined Chelsea's recent slump under Tuchel, Telegraph Sport understands that his sacking is not based purely on results or Chelsea's poor start to the season. He continued, Tuchel made it clear that he did not enjoy the extra responsibility he was given in the transfer window after Bowley and Clearlake handed him more power and a greater say on Chelsea's business. He has reiterated his disappointment that former technical and performance advisor Petr Cech left Stamford Bridge following the takeover and revealed on Saturday that he would not be involved in the appointment of a new sporting director. Sources have also claimed, Matt Law continued, that Tuchel's relationship with a number of Chelsea's squad has deteriorated, while his team selections have caused surprise and at times frustration among players who felt they have been unfairly left out or played out of position. That appeared, Matt Law says, to be evident in Zagreb. Still with us to discuss this development of the Tuchel sacking is Simon Evans. Simon, thank you for staying with us. Now, when you look at the model that Abramovich had going at Chelsea, for a long time Michael Imenalo was there coordinating things on the transfer end, and of course the excellent Marina Granovskaya was also in the front office dealing with matters concerning player transfers, player contracts, the recruitment plan and the like. Todd Bowley comes in, and obviously, well, Imenalo left some time ago. Granovskaya, Abramovich's right hand, also went when the Abramovich regime crumbled. And Todd Bowley came in, it was a new broom, but he sought to do things differently. Suddenly, all of the key pieces that dealt with the heavy lifting where player recruitment was concerned, those pieces were missing. No Petr Cech as well to lean on. And Thomas Tuchel found himself having to do a lot of administrative duties and paperwork that he felt was not leaving him with enough time to focus on planning strategy and working out how he was going to get the best out of his players. And what Matt Law is saying is that that is largely responsible for Tuchel no longer being the Chelsea manager. What's your information?
Yeah, I think Matt's broadly right on that. I think it's an unusual situation because usually the conflict in these situations is that the coach wants to have the power over the transfers and the owner or the sporting director is taking that away from them, and there's a conflict there. In this case, it's pretty unusual that the manager is turning around and saying, well, I don't really want to be involved in these transfer deals and so on. You just bring me the players and I'll deal with the coaching. Tuchel wanted to be out on the training ground working with the team. That's what he's good at. He's a coach. That's what fires him up and gets him involved. And from what I understand, Burley was a little bit frustrated that he wouldn't get involved in like the phone calls to players, certain targets, where the players, they expect to get that phone call now. It's part of the ritual, the courting ritual, if you like, when they're trying to sign players. And Tuchel was a bit reluctant for that. And there's been some briefing coming out of Chelsea that talking about needing somebody who's going to be cooperative. You know, I saw that phrase used in some of the off-the-record briefings, and that's an indication that things weren't right there. There has been a lot of turmoil behind the scenes at Chelsea, obviously with Abramovich going and everything else that you've just mentioned. It was going to take time, but he has a track record, unfortunately, of not being somebody who's very easy to work with, and that seems to have been behind his fall at Chelsea.
Yeah, I want to put something to you and ask you if it's correct, if there's any accuracy in it based on your proximity to the action and, of course, your deep links on the British press front. There was a report this morning that said that Tuchel arrived at the training ground earlier today to, of course, discuss with the players what happened in Zagreb with that 1-0 defeat in their opening Champions League game. He found that the training ground was empty. And when he went to speak with some of the club officials, they said, well, coach, actually there'll be no training this morning. You have to come and join a 10-minute conference call with the directors. On the conference call, that's when it was broken to him that he was being relieved of his duties. And the report suggested that he pleaded with the directors for about 10 minutes trying to save his job. And it was to no avail. He left shortly after, packed his things and left. Didn't even get to say goodbye to the players or anybody in and around the first team. That's the report I saw this morning. And I was waiting to ask you if that was true based on your information.
I couldn't confirm that at all, but it wouldn't be a shock given the nature of Chelsea's new ownership. I mean, it's not just Todd Bowley is the front man for it, and he's a very important man, and he's put money in there and so on. But there's also a big component of private equity money from Clearlake in there. It means that the board of directors aren't there in London in the same way that they were in the past, so the Zoom call sounds like something that might happen. And it wouldn't be a shock given Tuchel's character that he didn't just go, okay, fair enough, off I go. I mean, some managers do, and some managers turn around and go, you're crazy, what are you doing? I can turn this around. And clearly Tuchel believed he could do that, but there seems to have been problems with players developing more and more as time has gone on with Tuchel there, and that's something that again we saw happen at PSG and we saw happen at Dortmund.
Right, and looking at this now from Thomas Tuchel's point of view, Tuchel would feel hard done because just recently he would have won the Champions League, the Super Cup, and of course the FIFA World Cup. So from Tuchel's point of view, and maybe anybody who is against his sacking, do you feel as if, he was given a bad end of the stick in the sense that it was a bit unfair?
I think if we just looked at the results and we put aside all the things we've just been talking about the relationships in the club, Tuchel's personality, his reluctance to take on these roles. If we put all those to one side and just looked at the results, it makes no sense at all. I mean, he's a top manager who won the Champions League, won the other trophies, was in the domestic cup competition finals last season as well. It's very, very early in the season. And let's not forget, this is 6 days after they just spent 270 million on building this new team for this season. So, it doesn't make sense from that point of view at all. And he will feel, I think, hard done by, and that he didn't have a chance to develop Chelsea the way he wanted to. But he'll be back. He'll get a job somewhere else.
I get the sense, though, the manner in which this was done, and we outlined that before, that this was in the making. That Dinamo Zagreb loss had nothing much to do with it. It just, was icing on the cake. Now, who comes in at this point in time, Simon, to take up where Thomas Tuchel left off?
Well, all the indications are at the moment, all the reports, all the information that I've heard, the bookmakers' odds as well, suggest it's going to be Graham Potter from Brighton. And reports are saying that Potter actually has a release clause in his contract, about £12 million Chelsea would have to pay to get him out of his contract with Brighton. And that release clause means that he's entitled to talk to potential suitors. So it looks like there's going to be conversations going on, probably have gone on already today, between Chelsea and Potter. And he's done a great job at Brighton, but it's a long time since we've seen one of the big clubs turn around and go for a young English manager. So that's going to be an interesting one if that comes off. If not, the other name people are mentioning is Mauricio Pochettino, former Tottenham manager who was at PSG most recently, and he's no 12 million needed for him. He's out of work and he's available. So those are the two names that people are talking about.
Yeah, I heard someone say that, you know, the Graham Potter hire, notwithstanding the profile of Graham Potter, it wouldn't be different from when Sir Alex came over. Well, then Alex Ferguson came over from Scotland, from Aberdeen, to take up the Manchester United job. I almost slapped him, Simon, and I'm not a violent man because I'm saying, are you crazy? You're talking about a man who won the league twice in Scotland and was a European champion with Aberdeen coming over to Manchester United. So the profile is absolutely different because Potter doesn't have a pot to his name so far, pun intended. But Simon, we're out of time. We watch to see what happens. And as the news breaks and the story develops, we'll have you back in that seat speaking to us about the latest developments on this issue.
All right, look forward to it. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Yep, so Tuchel out and Graham Potter, the rival football fans, of course, already are calling him Harry Potter after the boy wizard from the box office breaking a series. But serious stuff now. Chelsea want to have a manager in by the time of their Crystal Palace, is it Fulham rather, their clash with Fulham in the West London derby on the weekend. And I suspect they'll have a new manager in by then, and I suspect it will be Graham Potter.
Yeah, as I said before, I get the sense that this was in the making. So, of course, they would have already started reaching out, putting things in place, because no club wants to spend so much money, as we discussed on the show yesterday, the record signing, the amount of money spent, and, of course, let it go to waste, walk away with no trophy, no new owner taking up from another owner that was successful based on his style will want to come in and feel as if they are less. So I expect them to have a speedy decision, maybe tomorrow at 4 a.m. as we got the news today at 4. We'll hear the new owner.
Yeah, key the point that Simon made just now about an Englishman coming in to take this job. Chelsea in the past decade and a half or so have predominantly gone for non-Englishmen. Well, Lampard apart because of the history that he has had with the club, but Tuchel, the German, there have been Portuguese, Italians, Dutchmen. That's usually the Chelsea style. So a Potter move would be a departure from their recent trend.
Yeah, there was an Israeli as well, but we'll save that for just the facts. All right, so we asked a question and we are inviting your answers. We'll play those answers inside our interactive segment. Mariah will deal with that. Was it the right decision to sack Thomas Tuchel at this time? Send your voice notes 564-7661. That's 876-564-7661. Let's be having you.